What do you think, Nigel? Is it a good idea to use the phrase complainants rather than victims for those accusing others of rape?
Yeah, that's what the trial's all about. It works out whether the person making the complaint is a victim or not. And in the case of Liam that you've just mentioned, where the case collapsed, then Liam was the victim because had the disclosures come out right at the very beginning, then I suspect that the investigation would have concluded after just a few weeks, as who knows, these things happen, and it would never have gone to trial. So he becomes the victim, and I do think you are front-loading an investigation by calling somebody who makes an allegation a victim.
When we look at the details of this case and why they fell apart, even as somebody who has no experience in this sort of thing, it looks very straightforward. That looks like a very simple thing that somebody from the police side of things wasn't sharing information with the opposite side that would have actually brought the trial to stop sooner.
It's never simple. In order to get a charge, and the threshold to get past the Crown Prosecution Service is difficult. I think what we need to understand, let's not prejudge this, because the same unit that dealt with this case actually this year took Gemma Beale to court, who was somebody who made false allegations, and they pursued that with vigour, and somebody went to prison for 7 years, and yet the cops who were dealing with this actually really, pushed forward on that, and she's now serving a 10-year jail sentence. So let's not prejudge things. The problem you have here, massive workloads, massive cuts, and already the Federation is saying that they've done a survey, 27% of detectives say, we can provide a good service. Only 27% of detectives. Having been a detective and having reviewed the rape problems across the country, what you have here is lack of detectives, lack of skill, lack of resources, lack of training, and this will be only one case. There are several out there that will be the same as this.
So what do we do then? Because you're talking about something that is so fraught and so sensitive, so much good work is done to encourage victims of rape to come forward. But in the meantime, those that are wrongly accused, it's devastating to their life. So it might be an explanation that it's underfunded and undertrained and undeveloped, and perhaps there's pressure on conviction rates as well. But it's not an answer, is it? It can't be left like that.
But we'd also be, if we were, a number of organisations out there, Women Against Rape, Rape Crisis, who'll be saying to you, you have to believe the victim. Well, I don't. I also think what happens, we go back to the bad old days in Thames Valley, where police officers were wrongly, accused of being too challenging. But you have to test the evidence. We're now in a situation where detectives assume when somebody comes forward, they accept what the victim is saying. Whereas we have to challenge that, because not everybody tells the truth. However, organisations, which you'll know, will be screaming at me now, saying, what are you talking about? We need to support victims, of course we do, but also we need to make sure that those that are accused have the right to a fair trial, and we have to make sure that an understanding, not everybody that comes forward is always telling the truth.
Yeah, I spent a few hours with Liam yesterday, and just talking through the experience of being put out to dry over a 2-year period was absolutely torture for him, his mum, and all his friends as well. And he said at one stage he had to picture planning several years ahead that had he been convicted by the miscarriage of process, as I call it, because it was the process that failed him to begin with, and then there could have been a miscarriage of justice by him going to jail for maybe 12 years or more. It was just horrific for him to think of this.
Would you advocate then, Nigel, anonymity for both sides in this case? I think it was 1988 that was repealed, anonymity for those who were accused of rape. And then in 2010, there was an assessment as to whether they should change that law. They decided there wasn't enough or insufficient reliable evidence to justify changing the law.
Yes, and I spoke to Jerry Hayes, who was the prosecution barrister in the Liam Allen case yesterday, and we've decided next year we're both going to get together to embark on a campaign that is going to push David Liddington to do just that. I mean, I've heard recent comments by David to say that he's minded to keep it as it is, but you're right, you're going back to 1988 when the law was changed, and I do believe that somebody, a complainant who comes forward, should have anonymity, because it does give encouragement for them to do that. But
is
what
there
about the other
also
side?
a problem, though, with the fundamental burden of proof? Not that one example of rape is any worse than another, but when somebody leaps out of a dark alley and grabs someone, but in these cases where the burden of proof is on the person accused to prove it was consensual rather than rape, that is like having to prove your innocence rather than assumed innocence,
yes,
isn't
that's
it?
right, and it's the complex cases that Sue is talking about that makes it incredibly difficult.
The complexities around rape investigation, as you know, it's huge. To get anyone charged in the first place, bearing in mind the Crown prosecution system, I find it's incredible. Why is it taken 2 years to make a decision? Why is it taken that long?
They still haven't apologised, by the way, to Liam.
Well, you know, the bottom line is, you know, the police actually were doing the investigation. It was the victim that came forward and made the complaint. Let's never forget that. The police don't go out and pick on people. You know, somebody came forward to make that complaint. But I do think we have to make sure, you know, that we're very clear. There are lots of people out there right now who have been subjected to serious sexual assault. We don't want to put them off coming forward.
No.
However, there has to be a robust investigation, and you have to test the evidence, and that might mean you have to challenge the victim. And that's, I think, where we're going wrong. There is an assumption straight away they're telling the truth.
And see, it's a point I raised with the Prime Minister yesterday, and she made it absolutely clear. The Attorney-General has embarked upon his own inquiry as to why it is that on disclosure, the police either disclose it incredibly late, or indeed, in this case, non-disclosure until the barristers forced the disclosure.